Hi, it's Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new middle grade book spotlight. So this week we are exploring some graphic novels, but we're taking a little bit of a different spin on it because we are taking a look at graphic novels that are nonfiction. That's right, the graphic novels we're about to take a look at are all completely true. They're from things in history, we got science, we got biographies. Yes, and what I love about graphic novels that are nonfiction are not only, it's one thing to maybe read about something, but then graphic novels bring it to life. We can actually see what is being described, and it makes it sometimes much more impactful and powerful, and it could maybe sometimes take something that might be a little more complicated to understand, but then you add some pictures to it, and then it does. Oh, I cannot wait to show you the 6 we're going to have to take a look at. So let's get started. Our first one is part of the science comic series, so I will preface it with this. We have others in this series, okay? They're all true, they're all science-based, so I promise if maybe this one isn't one, keep your mind and your eyes open, okay? So this one is all about flying machines. So this one starts out by exploring the famous Wright brothers and their work on their inventing their famous flying machine, which will eventually lead to what we know as modern day aircraft. Now our graphic novel takes from the point of view of the Wright brothers' younger sister, Catherine. She is a real person, that's not just made up for this. They did have a younger sister named Catherine, and it's told through her point of view as she sees her brothers go through their attempts, their failures, their redesigns, their re-attempts, and then eventually their success, okay? Then, once you get through what the Wright brothers develop and invent, Catherine then takes you on a journey while meeting other inventors, scientists, engineers that have made flying machines, aircraft that we know as we know it today, okay? So you will end up becoming kind of a mini expert on aircraft, flying machines, their history, some of the people who made it possible that we can get from point A to point B today in the sky so much faster than we can on the road, okay? If you enjoy science, engineering, inventing, this is a unique look at how all of those things have to come together to maybe build on the success of a new thing. This is Science Comics Flying Machines. One of my favorite series, and this is one of the newer ones. I'm talking, oh that's right, Nathan Hale's Hazardous Tales, okay? This one is Cold War Correspondent, okay? And I will tell you this. When I was looking for titles for this, I had not heard of this person. So you know what I had to do then? I had to read it because I needed to know what this was about. So happy I did, okay? Now, this is one that's all about a strong female from history that we should all know about. Let's go back in time a little bit. It's 1950, and newspaper reporter Marguerite Higgins, she has just been named as the bureau chief, okay, which means she's in charge for news that's coming out of the Far East Asia, okay? Now, she's working for the New York Tribune now, and you know, it's almost like perfect timing because as she is named this new head, this bureau chief of this region, this part of the world, the tensions in this region are constantly getting higher and higher, and it's getting more and more tense because Korea, okay, is in the East Asia region, and Korea used to be one country, and then at the end of World War II, due to some differences, it then was split in two. Okay, there was a line drawn in the middle. Top part became known as what we know now as North Korea. The south became known as South Korea, okay? Things are getting pretty testy though over there. So Marguerite decides she needs to be there. That's her job. That's her region. She needs to get there, getting the news and letting the people back in the United States know what is happening. So she heads for South Korea, and she is there when the Korean War, which is a real thing in history, doesn't get as much press, news as it should, but when the Korean War starts, because then tanks cross from North Korea into South Korea, okay? So you'll be there, you will see through her eyes as not only what happened during the Korean War, but as well as things like how she was treated because she's a woman. I mean, there was even a time in here that you'll read that she was banned from going to the front lines of the army because she was a woman, okay? Now, You will understand the risks that are taken by reporters and journalists to make sure people are informed. And that still happens today. You know, there are reporters and people in like the press that they are getting arrested in various parts of the world with trying to get information out to other people around the world. You'll walk away with an appreciation for how we get our news, as well as the incredible female of our tale here, Marguerite Higgins. Highly, highly, highly recommend this one, especially if you don't know anything about the Korean War. You need to. This is called War Correspondent. Deafo. Okay. Love this one. This is the graphic memoir, which means the story about our author's life, but our author presents it in a little bit of a unique way, okay? Now, this is Deafo by Cece Bell. When Cece loses her hearing, she is very, very young. She grows up exploring the world deaf. That's all she really kind of knows. Cece finds herself getting ready to go to school, she's making new friends, and she's learning how to deal with everyone who doesn't understand her. Okay? Not only is she going through all of this, during this time she is fitted for a phonic ear, which then allows her to hear through an implant as someone wears a microphone. So if let's say I was her teacher, I was talking, I would be wearing like this microphone on a necklace, which would help, you know, go to her phonic ear, which would allow her to hear what I'm saying better. And that does in our graphic novel here lead to some funny moments. Okay, there's some chuckle-worthy moments. She names herself Deafo though. That's the persona she embraces. She names herself Deafo, and she wants to retaliate against people who are mean to her. But, okay, on the other hand, she does not want to learn sign language because she doesn't want people to know she is deaf. She doesn't want to be seen as different. Now, this graphic novel is incredibly honest. This is, again, based on the author's life, but what she does is she, like, makes everyone bunny rabbits, okay? So even though it's a bunny rabbit, we are talking about Cece Bell's childhood, okay? And what I love about this is you will find yourself in someone else's shoes for the time you are reading this, and you will realize everyone is pretty much the same, no matter what those differences may be. Again, love this graphic memoir. Incredibly eye-opening and uplifting. This is Deafo. In the Shadow of the Fallen Towers. Now, this is by Don Brown. Amazing. He has numerous graphic novels that are all nonfiction about different times and moments in our history. This one takes a look at the events of September 11, 2001, not only in terms of what happened that day, but then as our graphic novel continues, it looks at the days and then weeks and months and years that follow. This explores the events of the day through the eyes of first responders, survivors, volunteers, soldiers, and witnesses, and you will get a sense and an understanding of what happened on 9/11, as well as the feelings and emotions at that time, and then later as people cope and deal with what happened, and then the events that take place after. You will see and explore the far-reaching consequences this had on not only the United States, but around the world and our world history, from physical to emotional and mental impacts. If you don't really know what happened or understand what happened on 9/11, this is a great place to start. I highly recommend this one. It's not I will tell you, it's not an easy read. It's one of our hardest days in our history as a country. Don Brown shows that, okay? But incredibly eye-opening. I do appreciate this one. This is In the Shadow of the Fallen Towers. D-Day. Okay, here we are. D-Day, the liberation of Europe begins. Okay, this is all about the invasion that is known as D-Day, Normandy. Okay, the storming of Normandy. Okay, now what I appreciate about this this graphic novel on it is it gives you some information right off the bat that looks more like a text, you know, and then we go right into our graphic novel. Okay. Not only are you going to learn about what took place for the planning, the important players involved, you will understand this as a major battle, okay, from the beginning and then during and then the end, and then what happens after they land on the beach, and how it impacts World War II in the long run, because it does turn the fight for Europe against the Nazis. Okay, this is filled with facts. There's also some intense action that you can see in it. I mean, like, because it is visual. Okay, you will see things that are actually happening. Again, it's one thing to read it, it's another thing to actually see it. Now, there are others in this series, so if you are into World War II battles, there are other graphic novels that cover the various important battles during World War II. D-Day is just an example of one, but if you like military history, World War II, D-Day. And our last one is a graphic novel biography all about George Washington, the life of an American patriot. So this graphic biography follows the life of George Washington, who would become the first president of the United States. But there was so much more to learn about him just beyond that one fact. So you start from the time that he was born, and and as he grows up, he becomes a land surveyor. Okay, he actually surveys parts of where we live here today in Virginia, and he helps define what and figure out what the land is that would become our country today. He goes to fight in the American Revolution, eventually becoming the general of the army, the commander of the army, and this would help create our nation. And then you read about during his presidency, but then fast forward, you also find out what happens after he is done being president, which is just as important and a lot of times completely overlooked. Now, this graphic novel presents a way to explore the life of this great American whose impact we still feel today through visual means. Here we are right here. Another thing I do like about this one is here we are in the back. It gives some more information that maybe as well as a glossary. There are others in this series too, so if you want to read about some famous people from history, and not necessarily like in a typical book, but you also get to see it as well, check them out. This one's all about George Washington. So, hopefully you've been inspired. Maybe try something new. Maybe you're not a graphic novel reader, but you're maybe willing to look at one of these. Maybe you're a graphic novel reader, but you've never thought about reading a nonfiction graphic novel. Maybe check out one of these, or you can come by the library. We have others we would love to show you and help you find, so that way you can read whatever that book, that perfect read is you're looking for. I hope you tune back next time for a whole new middle grade book spotlight, and have an amazing week.